Gotcha. All right, everyone. Good evening. Hello, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to the Sistas on Fire IRL series. My name is Tashyra Ayers. I'm the host, and I'm really, really excited for you to meet our guest tonight who we're featuring. This woman is super amazing and does a lot of different things. And so I can't even give you justice. Please share your name, what you do, and then also, how did you get to doing all that you're doing? Because I think that that's a really interesting story that you have, and I want to make sure everyone hears.
Thank you so much. Well, first of all, thank you for the invitation, and I apologize for my tardiness. But I always laugh and say when I get those types of introductions, I actually have to be that person now. But my name is Tashyra Ayers, and I am a voice, a visionary, a creator, a connector. I do that by way of being a 15-year public relations and business development executive. And I've worked both across the corporate line of work in specifically the healthcare industry, as well as the entertainment industry. So both ends of the spectrum. And I'm actually, that allows me to stay balanced. You know, corporate is kind of stiff and starchy and, you know, rightfully so. Yeah. And so, you know, on the weekend, I'm able to say, hey, let's go to this event, just so forth. And today was a great example of it. I had one of my clients on a Fox 29 show today. And literally, nice. I left the television studio and went to my office downtown on 15th and Spring Garden. So that's life for me. And it helps me to stay balanced. It helps me to stay well. Also, I am also a media contributor to reachgospelradio.com. So every Tuesday, as a matter of fact, tonight, 8:20 and 10:20, Tashyra Talks Tuesdays is my women's empowerment segment. And I am the president of 312 PR, which is my independent marketing and business development firm. And recently, I was sharing this with you, Natasha, that I was beginning the women's movement targeting single mothers, and we have officially the Use Your Voice LLC, which is that network that brings together women with available of resources, specifically live events, educational webinars, some coaching and mentoring. And beginning February, we'll do our monthly, for all of you that are spiritual, our monthly prayer calls for our single moms. So I'm really excited about that. So yeah.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Oh yeah, and I had my son when I was 14, so I was able to do all this in spite of that.
Yes, absolutely. So what would you say has been your driving force to have a space in media and to be so prolific in everything that you're doing?
Oh, wow. I would say it goes back to the basic level of being grounded and balanced. I used that word earlier. I have to contribute my upbringing. My mother did a phenomenal job, although she's not here anymore to see the fruits of her labor. I would honestly say it's the upbringing. She introduced me to God at a very early age, and it was able to stay with myself and my brother for the duration. And so when things are not, they haven't always been smooth, you know, they haven't always gone my way. And when things don't go your way, you kind of need that foundation to stand upon, strong and head high when you want to hold it low. So I would say that that's the foundation. And of course, you know, you have to use that appropriately. You know, you have to apply that which you've been taught, whether it's, you know, at home, your moral compass, your education, whatever that is you've acquired, it is also then our responsibility to apply it in the right area. So I think even with that, having the ability to work hard and dedicate myself and persist past the things that tried to come against me. I mean, there's no secret there. We've heard the saying, there's no secret to success. You have to take the stairs. There's no elevator to success. And I think that that's just the case across the board. So yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. And what attracted you to media? Why was that an avenue that you felt like you really needed to be there? And what are you doing for your clients that's different from like other PR agencies?
Great question. So I don't know if it was like something that was always in me, but I remember that I wanted to go to school you know, as of late, probably up into the last 2 to 3 years, because we're all work in progress, I am not great at personal communication, if that makes sense. So like my feelings and all of that. But if you turn on that, you know, that work spotlight and, you know, for clients and you know, we're right there. So I don't know where it came from. I just remember saying to her, I wanted to major in communications, and that is a very broad topic. But as I got older and began to study and watch folks, you know, when we were younger, Sally, Jesse, Raphael, probably not in this order, but Oprah Winfrey, those. And so then I said, okay, broadcast communications, things really organically evolved. I found myself in settings, and my family is very talented. I've always been surrounded by people. My cousins that are general managers of radio stations, radio personalities. I was always around them. And then one day, not one day, probably a few days over a few years' time, people heard my voice when I spoke. I thought I sounded like a man, Natasha. Like I always thought I sounded like, you know, Barry's white baby sister or something like that. But, but you know, I heard there was a producer who heard my voice. There was a show director. There was just a few different people from smaller radio stations here in the Delaware Valley. We call it Philadelphia, New Jersey, Delaware, that tri-state area for us. And they literally said to me, you know, I was producing a show, and they said to me, listen, we need to have you on our weekend broadcast. And so I began to host a weekend show. It just kind of grew, like from one thing to the other. It just really just grew. And then my love for it has really morphed into something, using media as a motivational factor, using media as a voice. Like I said earlier, I'm a voice. So it's an opportunity to speak not just my truth, but on behalf of people who don't have the opportunity to be on the airwaves. And then to your other question about what I do differently for my clients, I'll answer that more. You know, I'll condense that and say, I think the benefit of being eclectic or diverse is I'm able to bring those things to my clients. So one of the, and specifically I'll say, bridging the gap between corporate America and entertainment. I'm able to bridge the gap between the two. And so I'll say to my corporate clients, hey, you know, if you want to reach this target audience, you know, this is who you want to talk to. If these are who your consumers are, well, this is what they listen to, and this is who they listen to, and this is how they listen to it when they listen to it. And so I'm able to merge the worlds together, and then obviously, you know, say to clients over in the entertainment side, community, faith-based, say, hey, you know, I know you need resources. You know, you may need a big team, you may need some resources. Let's get you over here to, you know, ABC organization and see if we can make a map. And so I would say bridging the gap.
That makes sense.
Yeah, across industry lines.
Okay. And what would you say have been the biggest challenges you face as a woman and as a person of color in media, as a PR person, all of that?
Ooh. So, and I say it that way, just, I mean, you know, I don't have to, the time we're living in. And so to me, those are three categories: woman, a Black woman, and woman, Black, and a Black woman. You know what I mean? So those are three different categories. You know what I mean? So I'm really thankful to God for this. I am able to compartmentalize very well, right? And so that helps me stay focused on the task at hand. So I've probably run into a lot more resistance than what I've probably realized, right? Because if it's something that's immediate or blatant, it's kind of like my dating life, which is non-existent. So like, if you don't tell me that you're interested in me, I'm not going to assume, right? And so if you're sideways shot at me to hold my contract, you know, so that it doesn't get to the right person, if that's not blatant, I may know it back here because I consider myself intelligent. I know, but it's not anything that I can say has been a a stop to me at all. You know, I know it's happened because I've asked questions, you know, and whether it's in my mind or whomever I'm talking to, I know it's happened. But I think the ability to compartmentalize and stay focused on the task at hand has helped me not to stray away. Now, I will also say, by the same token, I don't know if this is cultural related. I don't know if it's societal. It might be a combination of both. I do know that there are times in my career where I could have done a better job at promoting me, myself, as a professional, as a young woman, a Black woman. It's very easy for me to push everyone else's agenda, product, and service. But when it came to me, I may have been a little more, you know, passive and let things go, which ultimately, you know, affects my invoice.
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
you do things, perhaps as a portfolio builder, you know, to get in because you understand, you know, who you are, what you look like. And so you do that with the hopes that, okay, this will get me in, you know, and not everyone has to do that. So, you know, just the ability to stay focused, compartmentalize, put first things first, really pressing past the social, cultural, or even racial issues that we face on a day-to-day basis, and just like keep going. And then really, I would say the other thing too is knowing that you are worth where you're trying to go, that where you are, you know, you're worth it. And whether that comes from constant, you know, talking to yourself, motivational messages. I told you, I grew up in church. And so, you know, reading the Bible, praying, you know, motivational messages, whatever that is to keep you with that mindset, you have to stay there. And I think all of the things work collectively. And I have a great family.
Good. Awesome. Okay. And when it comes to being successful in your industry, and industries rather, as a media personality, as a PR person, what would you say are just a couple of things for those watching now on the live? Thank you for tuning in. And those on the replay, thank you. What would you say are things to always remember? Things that you wish when you got started, someone had told you?
Oh, wow. How much time we have? Okay. So, so, trust yourself. Trust yourself, right? So trust yourself, not that you are going to get it right all the time, not that you're going to perfect it all the time, but trust yourself in knowing that you have your best interests in mind, right? And that the things that are coming to you, if you're grounded and have a foundation, wherever that foundation is, for me, you know, as I said, I was brought up in church, God is my foundation. So trust that which is already in you, right? And trust, so by trusting that, you trust that you are already enough. You have what you need. And so what life does, it begins to pull out and extract what has already been put in you, right? So it seasons it a little bit, it sharpens your iron a little bit, but you can't pull water from a rock. So if it was never meant for me to be a voice, I wouldn't have a voice. And by that, I mean, I wouldn't have voice in Audible. I wouldn't have voice in the context. I wouldn't have voice in the ability to bring these worlds together and say, look, you guys, create a coalition works better for both of you individually. So I would say, you know, stay true to who you are within. You know, remember that you have enough, you are enough, and to tap back into that source. And I wish I figured that out earlier. That's number one. To take advantage of the seasoned people that are around you. Do not, and I know we're in a time where, so like I aged out of millennialism. I aged out of that. Like, I'm like, okay, so that's what I have to deal with, okay? So, but like just last year, like literally, okay, so let's not get too carried away with that. So with that said, I mean, I know we're living in a different space where millennials are millionaires, you know, technology driven, it's social media, you know, mastermind, you know, but I've also noticed that they don't always, and when I say they, the few I've come across, not a blanket statement, appreciate the ones that have come before them and laid the foundation. And I actually had that. I had people who were willing to take me under their wing, you know, who were excited about my success. And I don't think I always took advantage of them in terms of their ability to mentor me, right? So I would say the second thing is to look in your space to see who is around you. And if there isn't anyone, then maybe you need to find someone that is where you want to go. And with that said, my brother and I talk about this a lot. When you identify people that can help you bring you forward, they may not necessarily stay with you for the duration, right? There's a reason, a season, a lifetime. There's a time for everything. And so whatever you can get out of that person, glean from them at that time. I'll give you a really good example. There was a woman by, her name was Marguerite Handy. And she was the executive director of faith-based initiatives for the city of Philadelphia. And I met her and had the privilege of allowing her to meet my then CEO. And she made it very plain to me. She said, Tashyra, this only happened because you did this. And so I thought Tasha was going to be like my professional savior. She passed away.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
You know what I mean? So, but what I was really upset. But what I had to learn was, I mean, up into those weeks, she poured into me, you know, months and prior to, but what I had to really appreciate and to learn is that whatever she was meant to pour into me for that short period of time, to glean from that and to move on. So, you know, trust yourself, true to yourself. Mentors is always good. And I would say that the last thing I kind of, I think this probably goes to like point number one. There are people that trust the process, but also appreciate your process. So, you know, I wasn't birthed into business. I didn't get, you know, a business. Well, my mother was an entrepreneur, but, you know, she was a caterer. I barely like to cook, you know. So like, but that entrepreneurial spirit is deep in me. I mean, from family members in the South right up until now. So that spirit is in me. It's in my blood, but I wasn't necessarily handed, you know, a guide on how to do this. And so I had to really create and trust my process and create a pathway and a voice, you know, and a vision for myself. So I would say, also, not just trust the process, but appreciate it. And I really would the process. So I'm talking more about things that have to do with us internally, you know, maybe things that are not tangible, other than the mentor. But once you get those intangibles down packed, the tangibles is like sweet, you know, that's the cherry on top.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, to add to the conversation, I would say, similar to you, I didn't necessarily have a background in media. I'm a lawyer by trade and wanted to do something different. And I knew that there is a certain level of professionalism and joy that I really get out of public speaking. I have, you know, always truly enjoyed Facebook from when it started. I am a millennial. So I remember when Facebook was just for college and I was there and right on top of it. And so for me, it was definitely something that I gravitated to. But I think my success in media and opportunities to create for myself has always really driven back down to hunger and drive. A lot of people are too comfortable with the I don't know how to get started. And that conversation will kill your life. Like it will keep you stagnant in mud for years upon years, because the I don't know is an excuse and there's no reason for it, because a lot of opportunities are literally waiting for you. All you have to do is send an email. Like I say this to people and they're like, she must be joking. Literally wouldn't have a business, wouldn't have clients, wouldn't be featured in magazines and media outlets had I not sent an email.
Right.
That's it. One email. Can change your entire life.
That's it.
And so I think that hunger for media, especially, because what are we all trying to do? We're trying to capture attention, right? Whether you're capturing attention for yourself or for your clients, capturing attention. People have the attention span of a goldfish. 2 seconds. That's all you have for people. 2 seconds. So what can you do? You have to be in as many places as possible, which means you have to be hungry enough to send crazy emails.
Right,
You have
right.
to be hungry enough for the dream. And I think that a lot of people are expecting things to come and knock on their door. And it's weird because, you know, as even from contextually from our history, right? Like so much of being a Black person in this country is the fact that we had to build up from nothing, that we had to go out and create opportunity. We had to build our churches. We had to build our banks. We had to build our community centers. People weren't coming giving it to us. We didn't get our 40 acres and a mule. So you know, it's very confusing to me when people are like, well, I just don't know. Well, you know, I'm just like, what would our ancestors say? Like, this is ridiculous. Like
it is ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
It is. And like to your point about, you know, we had to build and no one gave us the 40 acres and a mule and spend time wishing someone did. We can spend time, you know, hoping and being angry and upset that someone did not hand that to us, or we can allow the chips to fall where they may, pick up the pieces and keep it moving. At the end of the day, it's not easy. It is what it is, you know, accept it and move on, you know, and to your point, I think a lot of us, or a lot of people get stuck on that concept and you know, the email, the daring phone call, the cold call that you made, you know,
cold calling.
I mean, I don't even know if people do people still know what that is? Like you just pick up the phone. You know?
Well, yes. I'm a millennial, so I prefer starting conversations via email just because I feel like, you know, to get on the phone, people are busy. People are right, but you could always check an email, right? But there is so much value from having a phone call conversation. Absolutely.
And I won't even get into like the beginning of my career when sending letters was still in.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay.
Like, a stamp? Like, stamp. A stamp.
And the stamp prices are going up.
Like, listen, I don't know if I can afford these stamp prices right now. Like, I'm not used to seeing stamp prices at, you know, this much.
55 cents is that's something.
That's a whopping 55 cents. No, but I actually, and speaking of that stamp, I created a list, right? And this will help too. I do a daily to-do list. I have weekly, monthly, and obviously the annual goals. But I remember when I was just starting out and I needed to build my portfolio, and three people actually were on that list. Kathy Hughes, who was the founder of Radio One. Wow. She was also a single mother, and I really was drawn to her story because my son and I have her story. She worked all times of night in the radio station. Her and her son slept in the radio station. My son and I did the same thing because I worked overnight the weekend. So I really loved her story. But she was on my list. Oprah Winfrey was on my list. And Maya Angelou was on my list. And I had no idea how I was going to meet any of these ladies. And from that day to this, 2 of the 3 are checked off on my list. Okay. And Oprah will be soon. Right. And so, but at that time, I had no idea how it would happen. But what I did was I made that part of my vision. You know, your vision is something you have afar off. You work your mission daily to get to that which is out afar off. And so you begin to put yourself in places that allow you to get to that point. And so if we can visualize or see what we want to see for our lives before it actually becomes tangible, it'll become something that's right, that you can touch and feel. And so I think too, even with all of the social media, even with all of, you know, if it's not on Instagram, it's not real. Not on Facebook, is not real. Listen, if you don't have it in your heart and mind for your life, it's not real. Because
absolutely. And to
go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, to piggyback on that, another thing that people should do is, have you ever read The Alchemist or no?
I haven't, but I've definitely heard of it. Absolutely heard of it.
Yeah. So as you were speaking, I read the graphic novel. You guys should totally read the graphic novel, and it's amazing. And one of the lines in it is said, I think one of the main characters he's told that, like, if you want something, you have to think it, right, and act, but the universe conspires to deliver it for you, right? And there's so much value in just understanding that we're all connected and you're actually connected to the universe, and that there's no, you know, life is happening to me, I have no control, but it's like you are the driver in the car of your life. Point
Yep.
blank, period. Whether you're in India, UK, America, Caribbean, anywhere, you are the driver. So the minute that you accept that, and the minute that, yeah, you write out those handwritten notes, that you send out those emails, that you make a point to go to the networking event, that's when your life can totally change. And it's glorious, because I think we're both living testimonies of that, right? And especially with you having, and I'd love for you, I think we're having some late people tune in. So if you can, again, repeat, you know, the agency, what do you do, so that people can look into that. I have your website listed, so they definitely can click.
Sure. So I am a marketing and public relations strategist for corporate and entertainment industries. My firm is called 312 PR, and 312 stands for 3 principles, 1 goal, and that is to elevate. And the principles that we operate on are integrity, increase, and innovation. And I was sharing earlier that our specialty, what we hone in on, is bridging the gap across industry lines with brands and industry and organizations that might not traditionally come together to partner to reach a common goal. And I've been very successful at doing that across the corporate healthcare space specifically, and across the entertainment space. I've brought the two together. You know, one may be looking for an audience, another is looking for resources, and I have the knack and really it is the art and the skill of bringing the worlds together. So that's my business. And then recently made official Use Your Voice LLC, which is a women's network that targets single mothers through live events, educational webinars, coaching, and one thing I didn't mention is we're working on a docuseries. So I want to feature some single mothers there. That's kind of the newest thing to it. And I mean, you know, needless to say, single mothers make up over 70% of all heads of households. And I remember at one point, it was kind of taboo to be a single mother. And now as I'm doing my research and looking into, you know, the best ways to deliver these services to that target audience, you know, I'm looking at women that are choosing this life. You know, they're choosing the child without the partner. So that brings up a whole nother part of the conversation. We probably don't have time for that right now, but that's a passion. And so where does that come from? Well, I had my son when I was 14 years old. It was a week before my 15th birthday. And the crazier thing about that is no one knew I was pregnant. So I had no doctor care, no prenatal care. No one found out till November. I had him 3 weeks later. So literally for 3 weeks, they were trying to consolidate doctor's appointments and exams and all of that within a 3-week time frame, because I did not have not one exam, not one pill, not one prenatal visit. And I was 14. So all during the summer, I was on roller coasters and trips and carrying on. All the while I was pregnant. But wonderful son. He is in his last semester of college. He took a 5-year program. He went away to Virginia State University on a partial football scholarship. His major is music engineering and production. And he actually just came back from LA last night for a music marketing conference. So that's why the drive and the passion to target single parents is there, because it's my testimony. It's my story. And I have this phrase where I say my story is my story, my wealth. And really that's the part that I believe that's going to get me to the next part of my life, just going around. I was actually in your neck of the woods. I was in New York on Saturday at a visualization.
Yes. How did your event go?
There. Yeah, that was awesome. And if we get a chance, I could share quick points from that. But my story. And again, just kind of going around doing that with women. So, and my mother passed away 5 years after I had my son, and just, you know, story after story after story. I know what it's like to be homeless. I know what it's like not to have a place to live of your own, you know, not to know where the meal is coming from, all your belongings. Like, we all have a story. So There's no excuse. There's no excuse.
Gotcha. Okay. So I think we're having a little bit of a tech delay, but we'll work through it. You can still hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So then what I'd love for you to do is to share just a little bit about, I'd like to share a little bit about Sistas on Fire. So for everyone watching on the live or on the replay, Sistas on Fire is a play that actually started about 10 years ago. And it was originally called Diary of a Mad Black Feminist by Marsha McNair and Anissa Moore. And they're both professors at Nassau Community College. They're playwrights. Marsha is a former Essence editor. She's my mother-in-law. She's an author. Oh gosh, she's done so much. And she really was frustrated that she wasn't seeing herself in media. And so that what kind of propelled her to pursue things like being a playwright, being an author, and being that representation that we don't always see. And what's really phenomenal is that along with the production that we have had for the past couple of years, we're having our next production at the East Village Playhouse in the city, February 22nd to March 17th. So please, everyone, get tickets at sistasonfire.com, SISTAS onfire.com. But I started the Sistas on Fire IRL series a little bit over a year ago, and I've been featuring women like yourself who are just badass, who are committed to living their testimony and really inspiring us to go out and do what speaks to us in our hearts and make change and be representation that is so needed in this world. So for you, when you hear the term Sistas on Fire, what does that mean to you?
Ooh. I mean, I kind of envision that in its literal sense, that there is an internal burning within us as sisters, individually, collectively, that there is internal burning. And I speak from really a personal perspective on that. There's something inside, some things inside that are boiling over and are waiting to get out. And those things can take in the form of a business, in the form of a ministry, in the form of a coaching, in the form of, creating a network for whatever it is. I think about women who have a purpose they haven't tapped into, or as they are tapping into it, more begins to air. And so, more, there's more that comes. Okay, I know you've taken this first. Gotta take now step 3, and so then there comes a desire, and there is actually something about that. Jeremiah said it, but it really is something that doesn't allow you to sleep at night until you execute on it. It doesn't rest until you execute on it. That thing that when you see it or read about it or hear about it, causes your stomach to turn, or you can't get off your mind, or you write about it, you draw about it, you paint about it. That is the external response to something that's internally boiling inside of you. I mentioned earlier that I was talking a lot about the intangible things that I wish I had tapped into sooner in order to acquire the tangible. And I think that's what I see or hear when I think about Sisters on Fire. I think about literal burning on the says, I need to do this. Not rest unless I do this.
Okay.
Unless I do this. I can't
Gotcha.
Preach to that sister unless I do this.
Perfect. Okay. And who in your life has been Sisters on Fire, whether professionally, personally, people you don't even know?
You. Would say
yeah. Thank you.
Mother, of course, definitely my mother. And I have a mentor, Andrea Lawful Saunders. I don't know if she's watching right now. She's certainly one who I have.
Sorry, can you move your phone, or maybe there's like your voice is like the connection's a little bit off.
Okay. Is it better?
You have Wi-Fi on and everything, right?
Yeah. No.
Not really.
We've been all this time.
Yeah, I know. I don't. It's yeah.
Give me one. I'm gonna try
Weird.
one. I'm gonna try something. Hold on.
Maybe another part of the room. Are you still there? Tashyra, can you hear me? Hello? All right, so we're just gonna wait to see if she can come back. Technical delay, everyone. That we can just finish up the interview. I hope you all were enjoying the conversation. I think if you definitely have PR, definitely go to I think the website is 312pr.com, and that way you can learn more about her story and kind of the great work that she's doing. She mentioned that she's in we'll bring you back in. She's in the PA area, so you can definitely get in touch there, and she should be connecting, coming back in. There we go.
Is that better?
Yes, thank you. Yes, that's awesome. Okay. So yes, continue what you're saying.
The burning fire women, girls on fire, sisters on fire, sisters on fire. So I mentioned a mentor of mine, big sister mentor. Mm-hmm. And I would say even the women that I see from afar that I don't necessarily know, personally, but watch their stories and watch them succeed and just have a voice. I really am on this voice wave right now.
Yeah.
And it makes sense. I'm frontline communicator, on behalf of other organizations, but voice now in the sense of being a advocate for myself, and by myself, all of the women that look like me, have a similar story. All of those women, they're sisters on fire. But really right now it's the big sister mentors that I have. It's the family members, the cousins that we share. And one in particular, Natasha, we didn't even grow up together. But we click, it's like finishing each other's sentences. And I think it's really important at this time in our lives that everybody that we have in our lives is purposeful. Mm-hmm. I'm really not at the point where I just need someone else just to, do whatever with, or, shoot the what with. It all has to be purposeful.
Yeah. Absolutely. Okay, I love that. Yeah, so I guess now just to finish up, because I know you're busy and want to continue on with life, but generally speaking,
I'm enjoying it.
Yes, of course. I love every session. It's truly entertaining and educational and really inspiring for me, and I hope everyone tuning in. Now, what would you say for someone who is interested in getting into media, having a space in media, having a voice? What would be step one for them? And then again, give your information for how people can get in touch with you.
Sure. I would say step one would be understanding your why. And I say that because we are in a space where social and online media has really closed the gap. There is no longer 6 degrees of separation, access. Yeah. And it is a lot. The gap has closed significantly. And so when you find your why, in that why, you should find your message, and you should find your audience, which ultimately will help you find your avenue, your lane, the target, that you'll take to reach your audience. So find your why, and make sure that it's not a moment, an emotional moment that you're having. It has to be something that, again, is burning inside of you? Like, is it on fire? And do you see that you're solving a problem?
Mm.
Because although in media, people, maybe like, well, how does media solve an issue? Well, the ability to reach multiple people across multiple platforms simultaneously is powerful.
Yeah.
And so, dialogue is powerful. We may not come to a solution, that we all agree upon, but one thing we can agree on is that we're all entitled at least to have a voice about something.
Yes.
And make sure it makes sense. Let's not just be a talking head. Like, make sure it makes sense.
Yeah.
Our facts are lined up. So find your why, and in your why, you'll find the other 4 W's and 1 H, the where, the who, and the how, and the what. That would be my piece of advice there. And then take advantage of the online outlets that we have now that we didn't have before.
Mm-hmm.
Podcasting is popular.
Yep.
YouTubers, people make millions off of YouTube. I know that's not everybody's story, but YouTube, Facebook Watch, Instagram TV, there's a lot of ways to get your message out.
Yeah.
The last thing I'll say about that in particular, and this is something I had to learn too, don't compare yourself to other people's success. It is not always comparable, meaning that if you don't have 10,000 followers or 10,000 likes, it does not mean your message is not purposeful. It does not mean your message is not meaningful, or needed. It just means you need to hone in on who your following is and appreciate the 1,000, the 10% of the 10,000, the 1,000 that did like your message. So I would say that lastly as well. But if you're interested in getting in contact with me, you can go to 312pr.com, and that is the number 3, the word 12, and the letters PR as in publicrelations.com. And in the site, the homepage, you're able to leave your email address, and we will give you regular updates on things that are happening with the agency. I'm actually launching a new site next month, but the page is there, and you're able to log right in, see a little bit about us, and leave your information to contact with us. My business Instagram is at 312PR on Twitter and on Instagram, the same thing, at 312PR. My personal handles for all things public speaking, inspirational speaking, and the Use Your Voice Network is Tashyra's Voice. And that's both Instagram, Twitter, and on Facebook. So it's Tashyra's Voice.
Perfect.
And last, you can email me at info@312pr.com. And that's info@3, the word 12pr.com.
Perfect. Yes. And I would just add to the conversation, some of the keys that I have used for my own success in media and just having a voice is continually work at your craft. I think a lot of people, again, I talked earlier, I'm not sure if you caught the conversation, but wherever you're catching us now, a lot of people are too comfortable with the I don't know how, and then also the statements of, well, I'm just bad at, right? I'm a bad public speaker. I'm too nervous. Stop telling the universe things that you feel uncomfortable with. How about you stop and then start working on being a better public speaker and really watching how you're communicating and putting it into practice. Public speaking, doing events, being in media, it's an art. And what artists have to do? They have to perfect their craft. So if you want to be a better performer, if you want to be better at anything, you have to continuously do it. So I just encourage you to daily, weekly, monthly, whatever your schedule allots for, and however hungry you are for your goal, to do it and to watch yourself, document the process so that you can start to fine tune along the way and really make sure that you're honing in on storytelling. Because anyone who's super uber successful, what do you see? They're able to tell a story either in their words, in their craft as artists, as actors, as media content creators. Just how are you storytelling? So that's what I would advise. And again, please, if you're interested in learning more about Sistas on Fire and women like Tashyra that we feature, go to sistasonfire.com. So it's SISTAS onfire.com. Hopefully you can see the show that's coming up. I'm really excited for the next production at the East Village Playhouse. And I guess, do you have any last minute words of wisdom or just things that you want to, again, just kind of get out there and help people own their own fire, because we all have an inner burning inside of us, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll be very quick. I'll try to be very quick. I'm glad you asked me that. I want to share with you really quickly, your listeners and your viewers, something I shared Saturday. And I mentioned to you, I talked about vision.
Yeah.
And it was 6 quick steps to what I call vision victory, right? So, to own. So what you're doing is putting, because we're ocular people, what we see is what we believe is actual, right?
Yeah.
And so that fire, that the Sistas on fire, that fire that you feel, in order to make that actual or tangible, you need to be able to have a vision around it, right? So
Yeah.
I would say, one, in terms of vision, you have a mission statement, which is something that you work on for your life on a day-to-day basis. Your who, your what, your when, where, your why. That's your mission, right? But your vision may be a little bit far off. It's bigger than what may be happening right now. It's probably some grandiose, type of situation that far exceeds your current state, whether it's financially, your geographic location. But you need to have a vision. I encourage everyone, no matter what industry you're working in, what gender, what race, what economic background, you need to see yourself past where you are now, right? And then once you do that, you put voice to your vision. So a couple of quick things in order to be successful, is to live in the moment, but also have an idea of what your future looks like. So, control what you see, control what you visually consume. In other words, I've been guilty at times, looking at social media and like, oh, why am I not where they are? And what that does is create a subconscious thought in you. So now you get discouraged. Now you do what you just said, Natasha, I can't, or I won't, because you're comparing yourself to someone else. And so I would encourage you, one, to control what you visually consume. The second thing is you have to have a vision statement. What is the vision statement for your life, right? So what do you see that's out there? You have to put words to it, right? Put words to what you see out there. Once you put words to it, now you put a voice to it.
Yes.
Okay. So you speak what you seek. This is something I saw on Instagram.
Nice. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Can you still hear me? Uh-oh. And we lost her, I think. We were just at the end. Oh no. Well, hopefully she can come back and reiterate her kind of what you see into your future, which is super duper important. That really comes back to a principle actually of the law of attraction. So if you're not familiar about that, you can definitely, I can share platform. I will do that so that you can get the books that really speak to that. But yeah, the law of attraction, The Secret, those are books that really will help you in understanding how to visualize your future and how to get past the now and see the 5 years, the 10 years, the 20 years, essentially the timeline that you want to create for yourself. So hopefully she can come back in and finish up her great points that she was making. So sorry again for these tech issues. Not quite sure what the deal is, but yeah, just to continue the conversation, I would say some of the biggest lessons I've learned, in addition to being hungry, being resourceful, also you have to believe in yourself, right? It doesn't matter what you're putting out there. If people do get the chance or opportunity to speak with you, to meet you, if you can't make good eye contact, if you don't have a certain level of presence and excitement and just eagerness to share your story and to articulate why you're special, what is your unique message, why should people tune in? Why should people listen, right? I think that those are some of the things that I've learned and how I'm crafting my conversation and sharing my story in different events. And so that's something I would encourage for you to think about as well. Let's see if she is joining back. And then also I would say try to also take a step back and really be honest with yourself. So I say this because I just like recently was speaking at an event, and the event was really about how do you kind of get back into the workforce and kind of get the job that you want. I was doing kind of a bit of a boot camp, and it's interesting because people sometimes are unrealistic about who they are. So I really encourage you, if you're trying to be a person on fire, be a Sista on fire, you have to be honest with yourself. What do you want and what do you enjoy and what are things that you do are all different, can have different answers to those questions, right? So when people go around, and I'm sure you've heard this as well, oh, I'm a people person, you know, and all you do is you kind of sit there and you have kind of very standoffish vibes, or when people speak to you, you're very curt and you're not engaging, right? And it's just kind of, you're speaking as if you just want the conversation to be over 5 minutes ago. Are you a people person? Not really. People, right, like to talk to people, like to be engaged. And we all have moments, right? We all have things that we're going through, but it's key to really make sure that you stand in your truth and in your presence. And if you haven't really thought about that, take this opportunity now to say, you know, am I a people person? Am I in the business that affords me the opportunity to do the things that I love? Or am I living a life that doesn't necessarily feed me joy, doesn't necessarily give me happiness, going to this job, doing this side project, this business, ... right? Making sure that you're really honest with yourself. And so that way, when you do take a step back and kind of do a self-assessment, you can what? You can identify the problems and really work it out. And so I haven't heard back. Are you? I'm not quite sure if she's going to be able to finish the program. I'll give her a couple more minutes, and then if not, then we will have to close up, because we're definitely over on time, and I want to make sure that everyone is amped up and ready to come back, because we have another Sister on Fire that we're featuring tomorrow. So it's fun times. I believe it's tomorrow. Yes, let's double check. I think we are, or is it tomorrow or Thursday? Nope, tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow. Tomorrow. Yes, Dr. Frances Richards. So that's going to be a really fun conversation. So I want to make sure you're all geared up for that. And I'm not hearing back from her. Let me check if she's reaching out different. No. Okay. So I think with that, what I will do is we'll call it a close for this evening. Again, thank you all for tuning in on the live. Thank you for tuning in on the replay. And yeah, I'm not seeing any messaging, so I'm not sure if there's something else going on. But what I would say is just, again, if you are a person who is struggling with being a person on fire, having the ability to share your truth, one of the biggest tips that she was sharing is really watch what you're consuming. And Sistas on Fire, what we're trying to do is we're trying to have an open dialogue with the community, with the world, and really share the narrative of the Black woman, but also share a story of humanity. That's what you'll see in the play. That's what you see here in this series. We celebrate women who are here openly, honestly sharing their stories, sharing their successes, sharing their challenges, so that we all can grow and build together as a community. So with that, thank you for joining tonight. Please come back tomorrow night. Like I said, Dr. Frances Richards, super excited for that program. And I appreciate your time, and I'll see you soon. Alrighty, bye.